So with the release of the Hunted comes a change in manufacturer suggested retail price, or MSRP. And while none of us ever wants to pay more for the same thing, if we're being honest, given the state of the world, I'm actually surprised this hasn't happened already. Now, the reality is that this 9% price hike likely won't have any noticeable impact on product sales or consumption at the player level, and singles prices will probably see even a further dilution of this. Rather, where players are likely to feel the pinch of this are actually at the event level, because one of two things is going to happen. Either stores will raise entry fees, or they will temper their store-provided pricing. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my Flesh and Blood friends. Welcome back to the channel for your Flesh and Blood Friday. That's right, it's pre-release weekend for The Hunted, and we're all going to be going to our LGSs as many as we can and getting those 8-packs, cracking them. So wishing you a good time, and B, the bestest of pulls. Now, the reason I want to talk about the impact of this MSRP change for The Hunted today is because I think that with pre-releases being this weekend, it might be one of the first times we start to see the impact of this at the event level. So what am I talking about in general? With The Hunted, we see a MSRP, or manufacturer suggested retail price, increase to $119.90 US. So the prices I'll be using today are US, but across the board, we've seen increases regardless of what dollar, cents, kroners, whatever you want to talk about, right? We're seeing an MSRP increase. So at a US level, this comes now to $5 per pack, and that is an increase of $10 from where it was in Rosetta, which was roughly $4.58 a pack. Now, interestingly enough, just for S's and G's, I went back and made a graphic for the MSRP history of Flesh and Blood. So when it first came out with WTR, interestingly enough, MSRP was actually set at the pack level and not at the display level or at the box level. So it used to be $3.99 a pack for WTR. That lasted all the way through Tales of Aria. With Everfest, it actually switched to basically $100 a display, which upped the pack from $3.99 to $4.16. So effectively, no real change, and most stores didn't change their box prices, right? Before it was roughly $96 a box. Most stores really didn't change their box prices for that. In Outsiders, though, we saw an increase to essentially $110 US a box, which put it at $4.58. Most stores doing $4.50. Now, what's interesting about this with the change to moving to $5 is a lot of stores in the area, or I've seen a number of stores in the area, and I've seen it many times at like conventions or whatever, that stores were actually selling them for $5, but they were doing like $5 a pack or 5 for 20, something like that, or buy 5, get 1 free, so you'd essentially get 6 for 25 or some variation of that. So it's interesting that it's going to 5, even though it was previously, $4.60, $4.50. Most stores were selling them for 5, but then doing some sort of, quantity discount or bonus back or something like that. Now, I mentioned in the intro, first off, none of us ever wants the MSR. Right? We don't want to be paying more. But I don't believe that in a luxury hobby like this, the vast majority of players will change their purchasing habits because of this. I just don't see it. 9% is actually pretty significant, right? When you sit and think about it. Going from $4.50 to $5 might not seem significant, but it's just shy of 10%. It's kind of a big deal, right? That said, and it will impact some people, no doubt about it, but the vast majority, I think, will not change their purchasing habits. So like if they're going to buy a case, they're probably buying a case anyway. Maybe they're changing who they buy it from. To be fair, maybe they're not buying it from the LGS. Maybe they're buying it online now because they can't take the extra $30 hit or $40 hit or however the math works there. But I think overall you understand my argument that I don't think the vast majority of people will change their purchasing habits. I also don't think we're going to see significant change. The singles are driven by market price anyway. As whether someone's manipulating or not is not relevant to the conversation, but it's going to sell for what's going to sell for, and the market will put it there. In theory, they should come out of the gate a little higher, right? Because folks need to make their margins. But ultimately, you know, after a little bit, the market will determine where they land at. So I don't think it'll affect singles all that much. But where we're going to see impact, because it should make sense to you, and that's why we're talking about this headed into this weekend, which will be the first set of events around this, is your LGS stores are now paying, I think it's like 5 or 6 more per box. Again, in the US, based on distributor, it's somewhere in that like $5 to $6 per box range. So their prices, their costs for packs are going up. And, you know, let's go ahead and do a case study for the pre-release this weekend. Remember that pre-release product is purchased by the stores. They purchase it as, you know, they're only allocated a small amount to buy based on what they've been allocated for the pre-release. But it's still normal product that they have to buy, and anything that they don't use can go back into normal stock that they can then start selling at MSRP or however they do it the week later. So anything that's not used, or anything that is used, costs some money. Anything that's not used can be sold for MSRP later, right? We all understand that. So what we had done at my store previously, it was a $40 event entry. We guaranteed, obviously, the 8 packs to play sealed, which would, you know, get you there. And then we also put 2 prize packs for everyone. I've done it in the past where we do flat. I've also done it in the past where we put it in kind of a prizing pool. But either way, it's those 2 packs. So what that was doing is the store was effectively running the event at a MSRP discount, so which came out to came out to $4 a pack, which was roughly 87% of what they could have sold the prize packs for at MSRP, right? Now, under the new MSRP structure, that same $40, that same structure would mean that the packs being sold for pre-release are actually at 80%, right? So the net impact to the store is a loss of 7% or an impact of 7%, right? Whether you want to call it a loss or not, because it's not actually lost, but it's non-realized money. So, for a pre-release to get folks into the store and get them excited about buying stuff, I think most stores are going to hold pretty firm on that by and large. Where I wouldn't be surprised to see more obvious impacts are at the upcoming RTNs, ProQuests, skirmishes, stuff like that. And the reason that I expect that to be the case is also supported by the fact that within the last couple event cycles, LSS has stopped saying what the maximum pricing can be for these events. It used to be, I think RTNs were $30, maybe $35. ProQuests were capped at like $30 to $35. This is all US. Skirmishes, somewhere in there. There was very much a clear price limit on what stores could charge, but that's gone away. We've seen that now for at least the pre-release, and I think RTNs, actually I'm positive RTNs also do not have price guidance any longer. And I suspect that these are related to give stores flexibility on this, because if LSS was making them hold the events steady, then they would have less pricing. But there's big impact of this, and I think that there's big impact of this MSRP change, and I think that the entities that are going to end up taking the brunt of the negative feedback are actually going to be the LGSs and the event runners. And the reason I say that is we've seen historically that when an event is run and folks don't like the pricing, they don't think there's sufficient pricing, they will publicly backlash and shame and do all that stuff, right? I mean, we know that to be a fact, but they also don't want their event prices to go up, right? And that's why I think the pinch point here is going to be on event organizers and the LGS is they're going to take flack for increasing their price, almost certainly. So if they hold their price firm, then they need to decrease pricing. That's just the way it works, right? If to be fair, if they're doing any sort of packs for the event, or if they are paying their judges in product or whatever it may be, the prices to run the event, we all can understand that has increased. So it's going to be very interesting to track this over the next probably 3 months, because we have, we have RTN and then we have skirmish season on the horizon. Then I think we'll go into ProQuest season after London. So yeah, we should see over the next 3 to 4 months before the next set comes out what this environment looks like. And I think it's going to be very interesting to track. So anyway, that's my piece today. Let me know if do you think, but I don't think at a macro level, folks are going to really change their purchasing. Maybe, but that does that 50 cents times 20, does the extra $10 per box change the net number of boxes that you buy? It might make you decide to buy singles instead of cases, but probably folks are doing that. I don't know. I think it's very interesting. So let me know below. I mean, there's always a risk when we're talking about money and stuff like that of having conversations go sideways. So I really want to encourage you to, it is what it is. And, with the inflation we've seen around the world, like I kind of said at the beginning, I'm surprised we haven't seen it already. I'm not a fan of the fact that a case is going to cost $40 extra. I'm not like advocating for that, but other games have been doing it too. So anyway, this will be very interesting to see how this all folds out and who gets mad at who and how it all falls. So anyway, that'll do it for me today. Have a great weekend, folks. Good luck with your pulls and go Commando.